Will the portfolio secretary indicate as to whether we are forming a quorum so that we can start and simultaneously also flight our agenda?
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson. Yes, we do have a quorum, Chair. We can go ahead.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, everyone present in this meeting. We are going to deal today with the Department Sports, Arts and Culture, as well as input by national federations. My apologies. In front of you is the agenda. We will deal with the welcoming and introduction, apologies, and adoption of the draft agenda, following by an overview of the state of the national federations by the Department Sports, Arts and Culture. We will also then having input by the national federations on the cuts in their funding as well as relocations. Thereafter, we will have deliberations. After the deliberations, we will deal with the consideration and adoption of a draft committee minutes, and then we will close. I would like to appeal to members so that we can be crisp and that we can be firm in our approach with our questions today due to time, and further remind everyone that we still have another engagement 2 o'clock with Parliament today. I would like to ask, is there any proposal and a seconder that we proceed in this fashion?
Good morning,
Honorable
and
Gabo, following by Honorable Daniels.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me also pass my greetings to everybody on the platform, Chair. I stand to propose that we accept the agenda as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Please unmute.
Thank you. Am I not unmuted? It shows unmute on my side. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, all members present in the sitting. If I understood your question correctly, Chairperson, you asked whether we agreed to proceed in the order that you have just mentioned, just particularly what is before us now, the
agenda.
The agenda. Yes. You spoke about the order, Chairperson.
Yes.
Chairperson,
as it is flighted in front of us.
Okay, because I was hoping that we could deal with the minutes and get it out of the way, because that doesn't take long, and then we can continue. That is the only thing I was hoping for, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask for a seconder for the agenda?
I second, Chairperson. It's in favor.
Thank you. Honorable members, is there any apologies? I do have in front of me an apology only of the minister, both the minister and the deputy minister. The minister due to cabinet, and also the deputy due to ill health. Is there any other further apologies by the portfolio secretary?
Thank you,
Honorable
Mr.
Daniels,
Chair.
followed by Honorable Leah. Just a second. Honorable Daniels.
It's a legacy, and my apologies.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Potgieter.
Thanks, Chair. Just a consideration of the time. Some of us have to get to plenary, so I see they've left us very little time to get there. I'm just a bit worried that 1:30 may not leave us enough time to get to that meeting, but I'm sure if we get through the minutes quite quickly, we can do so. Thank you.
Noted, Honorable Potgieter. Zoleka.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We did receive an apology from Mr. Mutawung, who's attending another meeting. That is all from our side, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, please note that we are also joined by a language interpreter. And before I'm going to give to Department Sports, Arts and Culture, I will just have the following crisp welcoming. It is indeed, honorable members, an honor for me to acknowledge the vital support that the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is given to our federations. It is also a fact that their commitment ensure that the heartbeat of our communities proceed. I have to say that this weekend, I had the privilege of attending two remarkable events in Cape Town. The powerful Hanover Street production at Artscape and the Cape Town Sports Award, each in its own way reminded us that sports, arts, and culture are not separate pillars, but interconnected forces that shape the identity, also unity, and enhance transformation. I also wish to recognize Dr. David Kramer, whose behind the scenes dedication has kept the spirit of District 6 alive. His work is a testament to how individuals, when supported by institutions like the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, can carry forward legacies that matter. But as we celebrate, we must also confront the realities facing our national federations. The Minister has rightly emphasized the need for a comprehensive overview of their particular state. And the challenges are clear. Cuts in funding and reallocation have placed immense strain on athletes and administrations alike. Federations has voiced their concern, and it is upon us as members of parliament, members of this portfolio committee, to listen. Limited finances means difficult choices, but I also call us to innovate, to collaborate, and to ensure that every rand spent delivers maximum impact for our practitioners and our communities out there. Honorable members, at the heart of this matter lies a tension we cannot ignore. The balance between ensuring compliance and oversight on the one hand and safeguarding the dreams and livelihoods of the athletes on the other. The committee is aware that the department has again engaged with some federations and made adjustments into the reallocation of funds. The committee is also aware that National Treasury disapproved the department's decision to cut the allocations of funds in particular areas. This has signals a fundamental shift in how government intends to engage with sport bodies. The minister has justified these measures on many or rather on several grounds. He also mentioned the unresolved issues and governance deficiencies when it comes to SASCOC. He also mentioned the need for stronger accountability and a broader reform agenda aimed at professionalizing the sport. He also mentioned concerns about SASCOC stability and its ability to oversee so many federations in all provinces. While these concerns are not without merit, the implications are far-reaching, and today we are eager to hear about the department's re-engagements with federations and or their status, whether that are still in limbo. Honorable members, as a committee, our responsibility is manifold. It is to interrogate the rationale behind these decisions and to ensure that governance reforms are pursued with fairness as well as transparency. To safeguard the interests of our athletes, the national assets who carry our flag and inspire our people, ensuring that they receive the necessary support to compete and to succeed. With that said, let us approach this discussion with clarity, courage, and shared commitment, ensuring that South African sport remains a source of pride, unity, and transformation. With that said, honorable members, I will now call upon the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to have their presentation. The department.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Dr. Stella Kumalo. I lost connection a little bit at the beginning, Chairperson, but I'm hoping that I didn't miss anything that you might need to have addressed later on. I'm, however, here with my colleagues, and they will be taking the portfolio committee through the presentation. and I would like just to make some introductory remarks before they do so. Chairperson, you have spoken to the review exercise that the department initiated during this financial year 25-26, and we will talk in more detail about that in our presentation. We are also happy that within this branch, which is the Recreation Development and Sport Promotion Chairperson, in terms of our structural setup in the department, we believe that we are also getting stability with the appointment of a Deputy Director General subsequent to the retirement of the former DDG who had served this portfolio for quite a long time. With Mr. Campbell joining this branch, we are hoping that we'll then be able to address a whole lot of other areas that need to be addressed. You will note that in the presentation, the amount of allocation or budget that has been transferred to date would be indicated. The number of sport federations that have, as a result, been funded would also be indicated in the presentation. But we will also indicate which federations, sport federations, haven't as yet been paid, and we would also provide the portfolio committee with the reasons thereof. At this point, Chairperson, without wasting your time and the time of the portfolio committee, I would like to then hand over to the Deputy Director General to take the meeting through our presentation as I have introduced. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. Please proceed. You have 15 minutes.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. My name is Vincent Campbell, as has been indicated by the DG. I'm the newly appointed DDG for RDSP. I'll take you through the presentation, Chair, and I'll try to stick to my 15 minutes. Can I ask the Secretariat just to fly the presentation? Thank you very much. Can I also ask that I will prompt you when to move to the next slide, just to ensure that we are together in terms of the presentation and the flow of the slides, so that we don't have confusion during the presentation. So Chair, essentially the brief was for us to come and present to the portfolio committee the state of the national federations within the country, and also to reflect on the challenges that we are facing in relation to the funding and support of athletes participating in events within the portfolio of sport and recreation. So I will essentially touch on a few things, Chair. I'll start with the historical context. I'll just give a short overview around that particular matter. Then I'll move to the status of the applications, Chair, which will then look at 20 to 26, 27 and the process that we are embarking on, but also reflect on the current status of the transfers as outlined by the DG. I will then focus also on the state of federations, Chair. And then lastly, I will then focus on athlete support as per the director from the portfolio committee. So this particular slide, Chair, which is the historical overview. Chair, historically, and prior to 2020, the department provided funds to all
Mr. Campbell?
federations. Yes, Chair.
Sorry to interrupt you. I like the way you have put it out. Can you just add also on the re-engagement with the allocation of funds by the department? You can add to that. But before you proceed,
Yes.
I just want to give the Honorable Mutambi an opportunity. I see her hand. Honorable Mutambi. Please unmute, Honorable Mutambi. Honorable Mutambi, I see your hand. Please unmute.
Chairperson, unmute. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you. My apologies because I was talking but don't know what was happening. I'm just raising this issue, Chair, in terms of the apologies that we got. You know that Mr. Barry Hendricks, the president and the CEO, they are not around. So the minister, the deputy minister, and then they are all not here. These are the accountable persons that we're supposed to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that observation, Honorable Mutambi.
Curious as to how we go.
Thank you for that observation, Honorable Mutambi. I also forgot to mention that the president of SASCOC is currently traveling, but I see and also want to welcome them that SASCOC do have a representative here. It is unfortunate, but the minister is in the cabinet meeting. He also indicated that directly after meeting he will join us. But having said that, we also are joined by the director, Dr. Kumalo, and with the presentation at hand and the issues at hand for quite some time, I am happy that we proceed without them and do our necessary interrogation pertaining to the allocations and concerns of funds by the Federation. Mr. Campbell, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Indeed, Chair, when I reflect on the status of the current transfers, Chair, I'll also speak about the re-engagement process that was undertaken by the Ministry prior to us then approving the funds to the national federations. So, Chair, just to come back to the historical overview, Chair, historically, as a guideline, we provided funding to all federations that was recognized by SASCOC and that was compliant with the DSEC requirements. Now, historically, Chair, we also had what we call priority codes. Now those codes, Chair, was a concept that was conceptualized by the management at that particular time to invest strategically in certain codes that they felt would produce the highest return on investment in terms of international participation, but also medals internationally. So those particular priority codes, Chair, all received a baseline allocation of 2 million rand, for which 800,000 was then specific for school sport, and also a portion of that was allocated for administration, Chair, except for cricket, SAFA, and for SARO, who obviously had a machinery in place and needed not to have that particular support. We also allocated money to CSA and SAFA, Chair, primarily to establish the leagues, the women's leagues, and I can now attest that particular seed funding, Chair, has borne fruit. We've seen the Women's Football League now flourishing, as well as the cricket. The women's cricket is also now on a very high. So, Chair, subsequent to those particular aspects, we've actually done away with the issue around priority codes, but I'll reflect on that as we go along. We can proceed to the next slide. So, Chair, fast forward to post 2020. We then changed tact in terms of how we allocate funds to the federations. So what we did at that particular point in time, Chair, we then asked federations to submit to us proposals and applications for funding. So what we then did at that particular point in time, we then sat with SASCOC, we scrutinized all the applications and decided on allocations per federation that was compliant. Now that was then used as a baseline, Chair, for all the national federations for the period 2023-24 to up to 2025-26. Next slide. So Chair, as a management, we've also looked at the criteria that we are using currently around how do we award funding to the federations, and it's not a bulletproof process, but at least it's a process where we are able to account properly around governance and around financial discipline within the federations. So we are quite comfortable at this particular point in time, but we are looking to strengthen that particular criteria, Chair. And part of the thinking going forward now is to look at how do we then strengthen and include some of the priorities of government around, for example, Project 350. Now, Chair, Project 350 might be for the 2028 Olympics, but in terms of the process going forward, this particular intervention will then also be sustained towards the other Olympic Games and Commonwealth Games and Paralympics, Chair. So that will be part of the criteria going forward, is to say, how do you as a federation intend to produce these particular athletes to then compete internationally on behalf of the country? So, Chair, currently within the books of SASCOC, we've got 75 members that are in good standing. And we've supported just over 60 sport and recreation bodies over the years, Chair. Now that is there's an anomaly of about maybe 13 or 14, but that is purely because of the issue around the criteria in the regulations around the recreation, sport and recreation recognition of sports bodies, but also the lack of submission for requested funding. So those are the reasons why there's still that disjuncture between the number of codes that we support and the number of codes that are in good standing within the SAFA books. Next slide. So, Chair, the status of the current transfers, and let me quickly reflect on Chair's input around the what do you call it, Chair?
Re-engagement.
Re-engagement, my apologies, the re-engagement with the federations. Chair, you are correct. Initially, the funding was withheld. I think we all know that. But it was based on sound principles, Chair. And I think you alluded to those in your opening remarks. I think the idea was that gone are the days, Chair, where federations would act with impunity, would not subscribe to good governance principles, would not comply to DSA criteria, would not prescribe to transformation aspects, and then as a matter of course, still receive those funds. So the purpose of that particular process, Chair, was to then engage those every federation, Chair, and I must say, Minister sat with every single federation where they came to present their plans, their governance models, etc., etc. And then based on those engagements, Chair, the decision was then to reinstate the funds for those particular sports bodies. So, Chair, just to then to reflect on the current status, we've got 98 million. My apologies, Chair. I think one of the notes just fell off there. It's actually 98 million rand that we have. That we've been able to apportion to sports federations in the current financial year. Chair, I can also report, you can see on the presentation, we had 4 that we were dealing with around compliance. I can now confirm, Chair, that they are now complying, so those funds will now be transferred to them. And there are 2 outstanding, Chair, which is, and I see Prof. Kok is in the meeting, I think it's taekwondo and figure skating. Now, Minister instructed us, Chair, to ensure that we meet with these particular federations to make sure that they are compliant so that they can receive the funding. Because our preoccupation, Chair, is to ensure that our athletes and our participants do not suffer as a result of some of the compliance issues that the federations might have not conformed to. Next slide. So Chair, so what we've then done, Chair, and the next few slides is very important, Chair, just to check what is the status of our federations within the country. And so we did an exercise, Chair, over the last while to see the status and to understand why there are certain challenges within federations. So the next few slides, Chair, is very critical to understand the current state of governance within our space and within the federation space. Next slide. So Chair, I'll start here. This particular pie chart, and I take the presentation as a read, Chair, so I'll just summarize briefly. Now, Chair, if you look at this pie chart, you will see, Chair, 51% of federations do not have any permanent employees. So in other words, they are managed and run by federations. And that is the lifeblood of those particular federations. Now, it paints a picture, Chair, as to why some of the federations are not able to manage their affairs efficiently and effectively, because these people are probably employed full-time elsewhere and do this as a passion, as a love for the sport. Now, if you look at 15%, I've got 1 to 3 employees, Chair, and you have 20% that has 4 to 10 employees, and then you have 9% that has 11 to 30 employees. And more than 30 is our big federations, Chair, like SAFA, like cricket, like SARU, etc., etc. Next slide. Now, Chair, this is a summary in terms of what we deem to be key personnel to have an effective and efficient governance system in place and management system in place. Now, again, this is very sobering, Chair. If you look at this particular pie chart, you'll see that, and we reflected on certain key positions like CEOs, CFOs, CEOs, and HR executives. You can see, Chair, only 15% of federation federations have got CEOs. And again, those are those bigger federations, ASA of the world, cricket, etc., etc. Only 14% share as CFOs. Now we understand why some of these particular federations are unable to supply us with proper financial statements and audited financial statements. Share. You can see only 14% of those federations actually have CFOs. And the chief operations officers, Chair, 12% of the federations have those. And then HR 7% and 52% has got no employees around this particular cohort of employees. Now, Chair, if you look at this, that 15, 14, and 12 is all linked to our major federations that will have that particular staff members in place. So your smaller, what we call Cinderella federations, do not have those in place, Chair. Next slide. Now, Chair, just a summary of office space. Now, again, Chair, you can see this is very glaring. If you aggregate the number of rental space and the number of no office space, it amounts to 92%, Chair, of federations do not have their own permanent space in relation to having a domicile to manage their affairs and also to house their staff members. Only 8% have got their own office space. And I think we know those 8%, again, Chair, those are the bigger federations. You would know the beautiful offices that Cricket South Africa has, SAFA, SARU, etc., etc. Next slide. I'll just try and move a little bit faster, Chair. So Chair, this is just a narration of what I explained now, so we can move to the next slide. It's just an explanation of the pie charts, Chair. You can move. Secretariat. Yeah. So Chair, the result of that particular exercise clearly shows that without a permanent domicile, it does not bode well, Chair, for the professionalization of the sector. Also, if you look at the issue around staffing, you are unable to attract sponsors if you don't have a good governance and management structure in place. And this is something that we are working on, Chair, and I'll speak to some of the interventions as we conclude the presentation. One of the interventions that we are now looking at, Chair, and I'm happy to say that we are now finding some traction around this particular aspect, is our sports house. We've concluded our specifications, Chair. We are now ready to move and test the market around this particular project. Next slide. Chair, you've asked us to reflect on challenges relating to athlete support. Again, Chair, the challenges are essentially related to resources, specifically financial resources, Chair. The principle of if you can pay, you can play. That's not something we want to subscribe to, Chair, because we lose a lot of athletes because they cannot afford to participate both locally as well as abroad, and they fall by the wayside, they fall through the cracks, Chair. There's also a lack of expertise within the sports scientific framework around the issues of nutrition, etc., etc. So those are the challenges, lack of medical support, specialist Chair, specialist training, specialist coaching, etc., etc., nurturing, proper nutrition, etc. So those are the challenges, Chair, that we are facing, and it's primarily due to lack of financial resources. Next slide. So, Chair, under the athlete support program, very, very briefly, Chair, we've got 3 components, and I'll just summarize it perhaps from the slide, Chair. At the apex of our plans is what we call Operation OPEX. And maybe we can go to the next slide, Lord Wick. We can go to that slide. Now, Operation Excellence, Chair, I think we're all familiar with this particular project. It's where we provide a full basket of services to athletes that are ready to participate internationally and present us in international sporting events like the Olympics, etc., etc. So this is for all the international major events like, for example, the Olympics and the Paralympics Games, Chair, where we provide a full basket, like I've indicated, from living expenses to medical aid to transportation. So the only thing that the athlete must do is to focus and to concentrate on making sure that they are in the best possible shape to try and get a medal for the country. Now, we've got, at the launch of OPEX, Chair, we had 75 athletes that was in the program. And we are now, obviously, we've got 59 athletes now, 33 Olympians and 26 Paralympians. Next slide. Chair, I'm going to close so shortly, my apologies. The second tier of that particular Troika, Chair, is our support to junior athletes, those that are almost ready to fit into the OPEX program. And here, Chair, we also provide a basket of support. We provide 50,000 assistance per annum to these athletes, which are then used for high performance club membership fees, coaching fees, equipment and apparel, scientific and medical support, etc., etc. Next slide. And then this is the lower tiers, Chair, where we work through the provincial federations to try and identify talent, to put them through our academy system, Chair. And obviously this would differ from province to province, and we would then identify with those provincial federations and the provinces what would be the need around the intervention that is required. But again, Chair, the intervention is around obviously to ensuring that they get the best possible support to attain their highest performances as athletes. Next slide. Chair, quickly, Project 350, we have the view, Chair, that the three interventions as ascribed to in the previous slides could contribute significantly, not only to LA 2028, Chair, but to subsequent Olympic and Paralympic Games. So we then increasing the pool of athletes that we can select from to take to these particular mega events. Chair, now this is one of the game changers I want to speak to very, very briefly, Chair. Now, we spoke about lack of finances as a first issue. Now, what we are mooting, Chair, is to establish what we would call a central fund, what we would call a sport fund. Now, Chair, maybe a reference point would be, for example, if you recall, Chair, we had the Solidarity Fund, I think it was during COVID, where corporates and privates would then contribute to this particular fund, but they would also administer the fund in terms of how they would want to see this particular fund allocated. Now, we're mooting a similar thing, Chair, and we are working on the modalities around this particular method, Chair. The idea is to have a fund where corporates can come in, contribute, even federations that are doing well, Chair, with billions in their banks will contribute to this fund to then augment the meager resources that we have as government to ensure that we give every federation the best possible opportunity in terms of funding to achieve their full potential. Now, this is one of the critical interventions that we are going to look at going forward, Chair. And then obviously, this will be independent of government, Chair, because I think there's a bit of a okay, Chair, I'll conclude. Maybe let's move to the next slide. I think I've spoken to that. Let's go to the next. So Chair, just in conclusion then, like we've indicated, Chair, more than 50% of our federations are run by volunteers, and we should applaud those particular individuals, Chair, because they are currently the bloodline of half of our federations. But it is not a sustainable process, Chair. So our intervention is around two issues. One is to look at the finances. I spoke about the potential sport fund, and then two is to look at the sport house to ensure that they are compliant in relation to having a domicile, but also to have staff to run their affairs on a full-time basis. So, Chair, I think that will be the final slide, Chair, and my apologies for going over by 5 minutes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Campbell, for that crisp presentation. I'm now going to give an opportunity to federations. We are all aware that funding is tight. Safe to say that we also, as a committee, appreciate the work that you are doing for sport. But we should also remember that what this goes along, and we cannot stress it more, accountability. But you have an opportunity now to give us your challenge, and so that members may take note. And also, the fact that funding is not just for financial support. When we do oversight as members, we want to see investment in athletes. So I'm going to call upon, I'm not too sure whether someone is going to represent the federations, or I am happy to take hands for this last 15 minutes from any member of federations to communicate their challenges with us. Mr. Tabang, please also indicate from which federation you are.
Yeah,
Please
greetings,
proceed,
Chair.
unmute.
Greetings, Chair. And good
Please
morning
proceed.
good morning, everybody. I'm Thaban Seiso from South African Table Tennis Board. Recently elected, and fortunately one had an opportunity to be at the minister's engagement recently when this issue of the cards was explained to federations. And the mention of these sports houses and stuff like that. Mine would be on two issues. whilst we appreciate the plans and the intentions of the ministry to do this engagement in support of federations, this concept of a sports house is still very unclear as to one, where exactly will this be set up? Because the understanding is that it will house all the national federations and maybe at an infrastructure that accommodates all the codes, unless I'm mistaken, something like your sports village. But secondly, not belaboring the issue around the impact the budget cuts has affected the federations. I hope in the new cycle this is not going to happen, because it has had very devastating impact on the operations of the federations, to the effect that we were still suffering the rigors of what has happened, and hopefully we should be looking at increasing these allocations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I see the president of SASCOC has just landed and joined us. Welcome, President Hendricks. He has also indicated that their initial presentation stands. There is no additions. Any other member of the federation? Is that Honorable Khabo? Honorable Khabo?
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I just wanted to make a simple request that we should be able to attach the face to the name. Some of these leaders of the federations, we don't know them. So please give them, as and when they make an input, probably to show their face even just for a few minutes. Thank you very much, Chair. I don't want to
Thank you.
the previous speaker. Thank you.
That ruling is sustained. Thank you for that, Honorable Khabo. Mr. Tabang, can you just for a minute show your face so that members see? There's the tennis player, table tennis player.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Thanks.
That's fine. Is that Miss or Mr. Jenny O'Hanlon? Am I pronounced that correct? Please proceed.
Hi. Morning. Thank you very much for your presentation this morning, as it is very enlightening. I'm from the Modern Pentathlon Association. We are a small federation built up of volunteers. What I do want to find out is, with all these, what seems to be missing is that we don't have a contact list of whom to contact for funding. So we're in a position where we have some very talented athletes that are working towards the next Olympics, and certainly 32, and we would like to be able to apply for funding, but we don't know where to go to. Who at DSAC do we need to contact? Who at SASCOC we can engage with directly, but it's DSAC and Provincial, who are the right people to contact?
Thank you so much. Department, take note of that. Any other hands? Any other hands? If none, I am now going to give an opportunity. Oh, Mr. Mafata. Mafata Swimming. Please proceed and give us a view of your identity.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members and colleagues. I just want to echo behind what a colleague from table tennis has spoke around the funding. My issue is we need an intervention, because there's this 350 project, right, that it's supposed to deliver athletes for next Olympics, which is in 2 years' time. And in high performance, we've lost a year because of an irregularity that occurred, that federation were denied funding and so forth. So one would have wanted a clear deliberation from the department as to how are they going to mitigate the loss of a year that needs to deliver athletes at Olympics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fatah. I see no hands further. I'm now going to give Anthony Marutane. Please proceed. Please unmute, Anthony.
Yeah, good morning, Chair. Thank you so much for the opportunity and good morning to the members. I think I just wanted to make a comment just to appreciate the efficiency of the team at the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. I think just for efficiency and just to recognize that the financial contribution that's provided by the department goes a long way in helping us obviously sustain programs at tennis, at sports federations. And I think just one comment, just maybe as a recommendation, I think just to reflect, I think the initial agreements that were in place between the department and federations, which were was a period of 3 years, which is, you would recognize that you can't produce players within a year or 2 years. So if they can, we can continue with that long-term agreement between federations and the department in the next cycle, just to ensure that there's some continuity and flexibility to ensure that Federations One can continue their plans without any disruptions and continue the player developments with consistent support. I think those were just my 2 comments. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much. Can you just say again from which federation you are speaking?
The General Manager of Tennis South Africa.
Of tennis.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mashilo or Ms. Mashilo? Please proceed.
Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members of the committee, colleagues, members of the department. I'm here to represent softball. I'm the current president of Softball South Africa. I want to say that the budgeted cuts really affected us, and not us only, majority of the federations. First of all, I'll start with the cut that was directed towards school sport. What it implies and the impact thereof is that majority of the under 18, under 15 athletes could no longer participate at international level. And for them to participate at international level, it means that their parents have to pay for them to go and represent the country. Similarly, the cuts that was actually directed to mainland federations, it has impacted a lot on the federation's operations. As such, all athletes that have to represent the country at the continental level, World Cups and Olympics, were now forced to make them pay for their way to go and represent the country. What it implies in a nutshell, Chairperson, is that the haves can now represent the country, whereas the athletes that comes from the pure communities, they won't be able to represent their own countries because their parents cannot afford the payments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Members, is there any proposal how would you want us to do this? Would you want to come with questions? Also, perhaps fill in with what has been mentioned by some of the federation members? Or should I give an opportunity to TSEC to respond to those? My gut feeling said maybe give members an opportunity and also to factor in some of that issues. If there is no problem with that, I would then proceed in that way. I see indication from some members a thumbs up. I just want also the department to flag this particular concern that I have on how they are dealing with the Transplant Sports Association. This is a profitable association and also supports people connected to organ transplantation. In focus, it is also on promoting organ donation and improving the quality of life for transplant recipients through sport and physical activity. I would also like the department to give us a response on the Transplant Association. I see a hand, the Honorable Moletsani. You have the floor. Members, please raise hands so that I can prioritize. Please unmute Honorable Moletsani.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members, the DSEC staff, and reps from the federations. Chair, let me first appreciate the report that has just been presented by the DSEC. I think it's now the right time that at least we can be able to know what is happening to the funds and how does the cuts affect our federations. I think I will have some few questions to the department and other federations. I'm not sure, Chair, how many minutes are you going to allow me so that I don't go to town with my questions?
Honorable Moletsani, we are pressed for time. I would like members to go straight, direct for the questions, but I will evaluate, and ask a particular member to wrap up if depending on the input and the particular issue at hand.
Thank you very much,
But you're
Chairperson.
welcome to proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I just want to check with the department. They've just mentioned that there are certain federations which did not receive their allocations because they did not meet the requirements by the December. How many out of those, how many federations, apart from those four they've just mentioned, have they allocated all the federations what they were supposed to be allocated? Because asking this question now, I'm aware that SARU did not get any allocation. CSA, which is Cricket South Africa, did not get any allocation. What was the reason for not allocating those two entities for now? And secondly, Chairperson, I just want to check, does the department have the system that they use to monitor the spending of the money by the entity? I don't want to go to town about this because we know very well that department will just give them allocation. After financial year, the entities will come back to request the money and not have done what they were supposed to be doing. I will always mention this one entity, Athletics South Africa, where they were given their share, and up to so far, they will always pay the old debts, not doing what they're supposed to do, which is doing the development. Let me make an example. They were supposed to have taken their athletes to cross country championships in Japan this year in January. They did not, but they were given a allocation. You have the boxing South Africa that were given allocation, but there is nothing regarding the issue of boxing. It's quiet, Chairperson. So according to me, I will say that we've given boxing South Africa the money instead of doing the development. They are paying salaries. So it means the department somewhere it's busy paying salary of people who fail to deliver to the sports entity. The other issue, Chairperson, I just want to check that presently, as we speak now, how many entities did they give allocations? Because saying that out of 54, they gave 50 something allocation, Chairperson. If we'll have to go entity by entity, it's going to be an embarrassing moment. Can the department once and for all, Chairperson, come through and tell us what is happening with the allocation? Did they give everyone or not? These two entities, Yosaru and CSA, why did they not give them a allocation? I think we have the meeting, we did have the meeting in 2024 with the department where we've agreed that before they can allocate funds to any federation, they must check if previously the federation they did have the development and so forth. Did that federation came and account for the previous allocation they were given? If they failed to account for the previous allocation they were given, they must stop giving that federation allocation. The example of that, it's Love Life, Chairperson. If you still remember, it's Love Life, it's Basketball South Africa. And the CEO, I remember he did agree that yes, we'll from now on, we'll check those entities after we allocated money, before we gave them money for the next financial year. We'll have to check with them. They will have to come and account what did they do with their funds. And it looks like here we are just talking, but implementation doesn't happen. I will pause there, Chairperson, because we are pressed with time. Thank you very much.
Honorable Molotani, thank you so much for that. Before I'm going to give to Honorable Potgieter, I want, in line what you are saying about ASA, pose this question to the president of SASCO. With particular reference that there was flaws in the charging case when it comes to the Athletic South Africa case. I want to know why, to date, was there no motion being passed either to the DC or to the Committee of Appeal to uphold fairness and accountability in this particular case. And I'm saying this because we have to safeguard both, because doesn't matter what is happening. When you read and you go around in South Africa, the case of ASA is still coming up. And I think on behalf of this committee, we need clarity why no motion to the disciplinary committee or appeals committee has been made in this particular case. The Honorable Potgieter, following by the Honorable Mutambi, following by Honorable Daniels.
Chairperson, if I could get clarity on a few questions. I think, first of all, the presenter started with the fact that they scrutinized applications and granted funding on the basis that the organizations were compliant, and then went on to say that at the end of December, they were non-compliant and therefore the funding was reduced. I'd like to understand how they were compliant and then became non-compliant. I don't think that that was detailed in the presentation. There were generalized statements given on non-compliance, which included transformation and something else I can't recall. But it wasn't detailed per federation, and that's really what we're looking for, is a schedule showing exactly how each federation was non-compliant and how this justified the percentage of defunding that they experienced. What is also interesting and what I'd like an understanding of is that SCORE fell under one of these non-compliant entities, but they were reallocated the funding that was essentially taken away from, and I'll check my notes here, Chair, but they were reallocated funding that was taken away from Love Life, and 12.2 million Rand was reallocated to SCORE. So if I can get an understanding of how they were defunded and then given an allocation that was meant for somebody else, and whether or not they were vetted for that allocation, it doesn't seem to be making sense. I'd also like to understand, with particular reference to Chess SA, because in December last year, minor children were left stranded without hotel accommodation in Zimbabwe at an international tournament, where parents and other parents had to sponsor kids whose parents weren't there in order to find them somewhere to sleep. These kids were then essentially made to compete in tournaments where they hadn't slept or eaten the entire night. None of those parents have been refunded, and I wonder if the defunding of these federations had anything to do with the fact that these hotels could not be paid. And I'd just like to extend my thanks to the DG and SASCO president who did sort this out at the last minute. But I think it is something that should never, ever happen. And if it had been my child, I think I would have been beside myself. I'd also like to understand the confusion between institutional capacity and compliance. We're talking about the lack of permanent employees in amateur sports federations, which is not unusual, but I'm not understanding how the amount of permanent employees or what their institutional capacity has got to do with their compliance with governance. If we can get a schedule of exactly which governance and constitutional requirements they failed to meet, based on the fact that they did not have permanent employees, because the two don't equate. And it is a very, very grey area to try and equate them. It's not something one would do in any sort of audit, so I'm not understanding why it was done. Then, Chair, there was a very confusing announcement made at the Krugersdorp High School, where the Deputy Minister announced that the department had essentially donated R1 million to the school for a bursary in conjunction or on behalf of Cricket South Africa. I'm not understanding how, if they did not have a budget for Cricket South Africa, how that happened. And if the initiative was actually paid by Cricket South Africa, then essentially what we're looking at is ambush marketing. And the department is essentially taking responsibility for a private funding initiative that had nothing to do with them. And I don't think that it sits well, particularly when we're defunding sports federations. On the other hand, I think what wasn't mentioned whatsoever is the fact that 82 million rand was taken away, and particularly from sports federations, to VAR. And National Treasury rejected that proposal, and that money was given back. So I'd like to understand, was the defunding based on non-compliance, or was it based on the fact that they needed money to fund VAR, which we are in no way ready for, and we probably won't be ready for in the next 2 years? Because essentially that's where the money went until National Treasury rejected it. So if they had not rejected it, that money would still be going to VAR and the sports federations would not be receiving anything. So what are we actually sitting here and assessing? Chair, I think what this brings us to is that I'm not happy with confusing institutional capacity with the fact that they are on non-compliance. I'm not happy with generalized non-compliance terms in this meeting. I can also give you, generalized terms about the weather and tell you that it rains more often in Cape Town than it doesn't. What that means is nothing. We need facts and figures. And I think, the other issue that I'd like to bring up is with regards to the Olympians. If I understand correctly, we sent 149 Olympians to the last Olympic Games. Before that, it was 170 odd, and before that, it was 130 odd. We are now talking about 350 athletes. We are also talking about, despite the fact that the minister is very adamant that he will not support superfans, we are also talking about 50 superfans who will be sponsored, trips and all, to the Soccer World Cup. How on earth is a fund going to be established, and where is this money coming from that is going to train 350 athletes when already you've put them on the back foot by almost a year in terms of training and developing these athletes? And I think one of the federations mentioned it. It takes years to develop Olympic, ready athletes. It isn't done the year before. And essentially, we are now more than doubling the amount of athletes that we're sending. We're defunding sports federations so they can't train them. Where is this money coming from? And can the 350 project be explained excessively? Because for me, it sounds like a pie in the sky project that is being used to give hope to federations and to athletes. And we're going to fall flat on our faces at the end of the day. And the only people that suffer because of this are the athletes that do not receive the support.
We've lost the Honorable Potgieter amid the fact that I was busy typing. Please conclude. The Honorable Mutambi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm here. It's me. Can you
Please proceed.
allow me to switch off my video? The bandwidth is terrible in the village.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity. The question is a follow-up what Honorable Potgieter is raised now. with regard to the issue around a national treasury, that they rejected that proposal to then fund VAR with the money meant for sports federation. The question that I'm asking is to the accounting officer, because the accounting officer in terms of the PFMA has got the fiduciary duties that the money are utilized for the purpose that are for. So, and then I want to also understand whether she advised the minister, because you don't just take money and do what they wanted to do. I'm concerned about a financial management of the department. It's a matter that we also need to raise chair on this matter. Then, with regard to the athlete support project, we should be concerned what the colleague from Athletic SA was saying here, to say that it's only the rich that will go to the Olympics. Unfortunately, the poor can go. We cannot allow this matter to continue the way it is, Chair. And we want to hear from the DG, what are they doing to support? Because South Africa belongs to all who live in it. It can't be those ones that are living in affluent areas are the ones that are funded, and the ones that are in the rural areas then cannot participate. It can't happen at this time in age of time. I want to hear also the comment of the DG on that one. And then my interest is on these other four whose transfer remain outstanding. And what are the specific compliance shortfalls that have been identified? That's the issue that I want to also hear. The other question is with regard to the issue on the same issue on compliance and oversight. Will the comprehensive governance audit reference in the briefing be conducted before the 2026-2027 allocation cycle? And will its finding be tabled before this committee, Chair? Because I think the department must never run away from accountability to this committee, Chair. The other issue that I also wanted clarity on, this issue of the proposed sports house, Chair. I think we need to be properly briefed on this matter to also understand the criteria the department is using in developing the reform model for funding on this issue. And then I think we need a briefing, and then in the meantime, I should think the department must just share with us the criteria DSEC is using to develop the reform. And then maybe based on that, on what is given to us, Chair, will be able to then propose that a meeting is held. The other issue is with regard to what is the total quantum of funding reduction that was applied to the Federation and SCOC in particular in 2025, 2026. And then the other issue that I also want to raise, there is this slide that deals with the fact that there are 14 national federations that are in good standing, which have historically received no funding from the department. So at some point, we want to know whether there's any projected budget impact of extending allocation to all qualifying bodies. That's the issue that, Chair, I want to get clarity on. And then, that's that for now. That's the issue that I wanted to also raise, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Daniels. Please
Thank you,
unmute, Honorable
Chairperson.
Daniels.
I've unmuted. Can you hear me, Chairperson?
Yes, I can hear you. Proceed.
Thank you very much. Let me just see if I can show my face. I don't see my face coming up, but it is me, Chair. Chairperson, thank you for this opportunity to have a bite at this very important item before us. This is something that can never be taken lightly, this particular item, amongst others, but this particular item, because people's future hinges on the performance of this item. Chairperson, let me first start. I'm going to be very quick, also because of time, with the National Assembly sitting just now. I just want to be quick, and I want to say, if you look at the presentations made, which I really appreciate, and I welcome the presentations, thank you very much. The historical fundings that were given, even to cricket, football, and rugby towards the administration, with a baseline amount of 2 million rand. I'm very happy to see that there was an analysis and a finding that there was no need, if my understanding was correct, there was no need then to re-afford them that amount of money towards the administration, because they were doing quite well. Without that funding, they could manage themselves and keep their heads above water. Now, I'm saying this because I also note in this session that there's slight complaints and moaning about the budget cuts to different federations, stating that, hoping that we will not experience budget cuts going forward. It mustn't happen again. Thank you for the money. We've now received the money, but please don't let it happen again, because we are still recovering because of those budget cuts that we've experienced. So I want to pause there for a moment. I want to say to everybody in general, and I'm not pinpointing people, I want to say that we must do what we are supposed to do and not do what we're not supposed to do. Then you will not be on the list for consideration for budget cuts based on what DSEC has presented. If we look at the cricket, the football, and the rugby, who were not afforded the baseline 2 million towards the administration, because they were well okay on their own. I want to encourage all federations, particularly those who are complaining and saying that we are still recovering from that cut, that temporary cut. Find yourself in a space where you can also be up there with the cricket and the football and the rugby in terms of administration, because we have to guard against the habit of entitlement. Many of our people in federations are lazy. Their salaries being drawn in federations. So that is a means of income to those people in charge of those federations. So they don't care tools about much more than what they are purporting to care about when they are before us and when they're speaking to the media. The right thing to do, my advice is, get yourself to that level, and then when budgets are cut, because we don't get it right all the time. So in the event of eventuality, if you're getting something not right, unintentionally so, you are not in the space where today you are saying we are still recovering from that temporary cut, because you should also become self-sufficient and not just be entitled to these funds. For 60 out of 75 have been funded historically. Others were not compliant for whatever reasons, but they are still around. They are still around. I don't really, it doesn't really rub me up properly or on my soft spots when I hear those utterances. So let me move on to problems that athletes have in terms of support to athletes. I note the presentation speaks about the lack of adequate financial provisions to participate in various national and international competitions, where the sad reality is you won't play if you can't pay. That is true. And when you cannot play because you can't afford to pay, we send down watered down teams representing us, let it be regionally, provincially, or nationally. And it is the order of the day currently. And that is a sad reality of things, where best players stay at home. Now, when I see the problems being cited by the department, I've not seen, my question to them is, how are we addressing this? Having to sell Boerewors rolls and cupcakes to raise funds, you don't raise enough, so you stay at home, and at the last minute, somebody else was called up who's got money. How are we addressing this? We talk about limited technical support for issues, not issues, for programs such as talent identification and nurturing at lower levels. And we find those levels all over, but they are more prevalent in the rural areas. I see this being cited, but I don't see they are saying how it's going to be addressed. My question is, how are we going to address it? You know, we're now sitting with this Olympics 2028. Cricket now forms part of the 2028 Olympics. Now, I want to raise something very uncomfortable but factful. If you go back, even post 94, if you go back, when you look at the Proteas, the cricket teams, just reflect in your quiet corner where you are. When players played their last games, there's always a lap of honor on the field. Just figure out, do you know how many players of color, black and white players, never knew when the last game was going to be? They just find out that they are no more selected. They never could do the lap of honor. It was predominantly more white people who afforded that opportunity because cricket was predominantly white. And then transformation came, but it's difficult for the individuals to make peace with the fact that it's been transformation. And therefore, they still couldn't implement the fact that everybody must be given the courtesy to be told that your last game is such and such a game against such a country. Never could they do the lap of honor. They just left out in the code. So why am I raising this? And I can say this about other sporting codes too. I'm raising this because I want to come to the issue of the limited technical support where it's been cited by the department, but how is it going to be addressed? I want to conclude on this, Chairperson. I want to say there are so many, and this is purely at the Project 350 in the main, Project 350 for the Olympics. We cannot be embarrassed at the Olympics. And the colleague who spoke prior to me said, you cannot prepare someone for Olympics overnight or in 1 year. That's correct. You can't do that. So here's what I want to land on, Chairperson. We have so many professionals, former professionals, sitting at home. Some of them get a commentating job that's peanuts. It doesn't sustain them. They are sitting at home with all the experience and the wealth of knowledge and understanding of the beautiful games. Can they not be cooperated and split into different provinces and regions to assist? Because I see DSAC is complaining about or citing the issues about the challenges. Can those people at home with the knowledge and the know-how not go out and go and work the grounds and go and do the talent identification and the nurturing of the people in the rural areas and other areas? Because why are we going to go and dig for people to come and do the job when we've got those ones who are hard done by the systems for not wanting to conform and agree with transformation? That is why I want to land, Chairperson. We've got enough resources, and I trust it will meet the considerations of the powers that be. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Mtetwa. Please unmute.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Let me greet everyone, and I would rather go protocol or all protocol observed. I'm Eugene Mtetwa, a member of this portfolio committee deployed by EFF, and I want to find out the contradictions that I have heard in the presentation. And firstly, maybe let me commend the DDG for his presentation, because he presented it very confidently, like he's taking full responsibility from 2020 to now. So I hope he's going to answer all the questions and not say I wasn't there. Thanks for that. 75 members in good standing, Chair. Contrary to the withholding of the approved funds, these were funds that were approved by Treasury, these were the funds that were approved by the Portfolio Committee and Parliament in general, and then they were withheld after that. What was the reason? What is the correlation of withholding the funds against the, you said 75 members were in good standing. Please explain that. The centralized funding Where shall this be located? Will it be within DSEC, or is it going to be a new structure for sports? If it is going to be a new structure for sports, how does it differ from the stalled process of merging the funding institutions for arts and culture? Because that was the whole idea, to bring everything into one pot so that it is well managed within one pot. So can you clarify what would be the difference with this centralized funding instead of funding the federations individually? The sports house, where shall it be located? Because the common practice is that many things are located in Johannesburg. And we know that some other federations are not in Johannesburg. Not all of them are in Johannesburg. Where shall this sports house be located? And how are you going to deal with the issue of decentralization of governance and the development that will be happening in other provinces? If this will be in Gauteng province, how are you going to deal with those federations that are not in Gauteng? The 350 project, you moved from 70, you said it started, the OPEX, part of what is 350 project has OPEX. And OPEX moved from 75 to 59. But you're marveling about this amazing approach. I think for me, logic would say if you move from 75 to 59, it means it's not progressing, because I would have expected starting from 75 and then growing up, because you want to you want to achieve 350, not to achieve less than 75 that you started with. But it shows a different direction as opposed to that one often. Now, when it comes to this, I want to go to this thing of the process that was followed by the department to do these reallocations. What were the deficiencies found by Treasury that led to Treasury denying you this reallocation? If you can just explain that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to give 2 minutes each to, I see some of the federation's hands, and then I'm going to give over to the department. Mr. Simpkins. Please unmute.
Yes. Yeah, I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot of talk about the amount of money that federations receive, and I mean, it goes without saying that the funding for federations is absolutely inadequate. What I want to talk about is the actual funding model. I mean, our financial years start at the beginning of April, yet we often get paid our allocation in December. And this funding is often not guaranteed. How on earth are federations expected to bankroll their own projects for this period of time in the hope of receiving perhaps the money in the end of December?
Thank you. Is that the question?
Well, it's a statement that the funding model is borderline bizarre.
Yes, and the question is, the concern is it's not guaranteed. Noted, Mr. Simpkins. Mr. Tabang, may I ask the portfolio secretary just to take up the comment of SAHF Lorraine in the chat box. Mr. Tabang, please proceed.
Chair, my apologies. I'm going to sound a bit controversial and out of order. But I feel I must express this misgiving that what Mr. Malone is saying is quite short-sighted and clearly indicative of how these perceptions are growing. I mean, to assume that we should get to the level of cricket and rugby and all of that, it shows some political short-sightedness, because we're doing our best as Black people to be told that we are lazy, we cannot reach up to that point. I just want to express that, because I'm the first who raised this thing that those cuts have adversely affected the way we do things. I believe we are at a point in this country where all of us are reaching out to corporate sponsors to try and get assistance to do our own fundraising. So when at a platform where we should look at how this has impacted us, to be told by politicians that we are lazy, I take serious umbrage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabang. I'm now going to give an opportunity to the department, and if it's possible, even if it has to be 3 responses on, let's say, for example, Honorable Molachani's questions. Let's deal with it, and let's deal with it bit by bit. I just want to give a direct concern or question, and I would like to have a response from Mr. Campbell. On slide 6, number 4, it says a transfer was made to a total of 57 national federations by 31st December 2025. That is slide 6. Now here is the discrepancy. On slide 11, it says, it is noted that all 55 of the national federations transferred, the issue that Honorable Mtetwa and Honorable Potgieter raised. It is noted that the 55 of the national federations transfers to already this financial year submitted all the requirements as per DSEC funding policy. It is also the issue, I think, that Mr. Simpkins raised. If we can get a response on that last one as well, I'm going to give over to the department to respond to the issues. The department.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to all the honorable members for all the questions and comments as well, and also to the leadership of the sport federations that made comments. Maybe let me start by allowing the unit, and I'm going to request that DDG Campbell, you also bring in the Chief Director on some of these matters that are very specific to the numbers and also to the issues of non-compliance that are specific to individual federations. I would like to come in, Chairperson. Maybe let me allow the colleagues to come in first, but I would like also to come in on the matter, just to provide a little bit more detail around the issue of the sport house. Perhaps also in response to Tabang, but also in response to some of the questions that came from the members. We'll try and specify as you are directing which question we are responding to. So Vincent, if you can start, and please throw in Simpiwe and the others in your response, and I would like to then come in later and address some of the questions.
Thank you, DG, and let me thank all the honorable members as well as the presidents of federations for the questions. Chair, there's obviously 3 or 4 pages full of questions, list of questions. I'm going to try and be as quick as possible and as short as possible. And where there's been duplications, I'll just summarize some of those responses. Let me start with the easy one first. Chairperson, you asked about transplant sport. Indeed, they are on the list, Chair, and we've given them 650,000 Rand as support to their programs. The issue around the last issue that you raised, Chair, around slide 6 and slide 11, that there's a discrepancy. I just want to give you and I've got the spreadsheet in front of me, Chair, and I'll share that with the committee. And I mean, let me also deal with Councillor Potgieter's issues around some of the details, Chair, around compliance issues around the list and that sort of thing, Chair. Obviously, we can't put all those in the presentation because of the time, but we are able to share those particular documents with the committee, Chair. And if you would allow, we will then do that, Chair, in relation to that particular aspect. But as of today, Chair, we have paid 58 federations. Okay, the 4 that was outstanding did not comply as of end of December, and they're now complying, and we are processing that particular applications. So if you take the 4 and the 58, it's 62. I also indicated here that there's 2 that we are still dealing with, which is taekwondo and figure skating. So those are the figures, Chair, that we are dealing with. And then quickly to deal with the issue of cricket and why we're not providing them funds. Now, Chair, all funding decisions around some of these federations were taken on the basis of consultation with the minister. And I think it's common knowledge, Chair, that we've got big federations that are cash flushed within the country. And cricket and SARO, those are the federations, Chair, because they command huge revenues around television rights, ticketing, licensing, and other revenue streams. So as a matter of course, they also agree, Chair, that we do not, at this particular point in time, need to fund them, and we rather channel those funds to codes that are less able to generate a revenue. Chair, now let me go back to the list.
That's fine. Can you link it to the Krugersdorp High School? And
Chair,
over.
yeah, Chair, look, I'm not too familiar with that particular project, but indeed we don't give cricket funding, and I would think that cricket, that was a bursary that was provided by cricket to the school, and my assumption, Chair, would be that the minister might have been invited, the deputy minister, to preside over that particular aspect. So I don't see anything untoward around that particular thing, Chair. We can just get the details, but my view is it was a cricket function, and DM was invited to play a role in that particular process. I don't know if that is fine, Chair.
That's fine. I'm going to give members follow up later on the questions surrounding the system to monitor the spending.
Yes, I'm coming to those, Chair. Yes, Chair, we've got an M&E process in place. We've got a small team that monitors all federations in terms of what they indicated to us they will spend and what they will spend it for. Sorry, Chair, there was just an explosion there. Sorry. So there is a team in place that does that M&E work for us consistently. Now, Chair, what we then do is we will not consider federations that have not reported in terms of the requirements, in terms of what they use the money for in subsequent applications. Because it's also a requirement in terms of our own regulations that we close off a particular financial year having received all the reports, all the compliance matters before we consider you for the subsequent year. So we've got a team in place that monitors that particular aspect, Chair. The issue of compliance, I think, Councillor Leah, Council, Honorable, so my apologies, Honorable Leah, yes, Leah Potgieter. We obviously have a full list of the federations, those that complied and those that have not complied. And we can avail that list, Chair, in terms of why people did not comply and why they were held back. But our preoccupation, Chair, is to make sure that everybody is compliant. That's why Minister gave us an instruction, where there's non-compliance, work with those federations, because you know the old saying, Chair, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So we don't want our athletes to suffer because of federations and governance issues. So we work with federations to ensure that they become compliant. And I think that the result of that is clear, Chair. The 4 that I'm speaking to now were not compliant in December, but they are now compliant and we are now processing that funding. Also, Councillor
Mr. Campbell,
Honorable yes.
Hold your hand, Mr. Campbell. Would you say that it is plausible to defund and take away 80 million rand on defunding for a matter of the non-compliance?
Chair, my apologies, just repeat.
80 million rand has been taken away due to non-compliance.
Are you referring to the money?
Yes, has been taken from
VAR funding. Chair,
do you say that's plausible?
Yeah, look, I think there's also a misnomer, Chair. The funding was not necessarily cut for the financial year. It was withheld initially, because Minister wanted to satisfy himself that all federations are indeed doing what they're supposed to do. And that is why there was that delay. Now, we acknowledge the fact, Chair, that the delay had an impact on the operations of the federations. We acknowledge that. But it was a necessary exercise, Chair, to ensure that Minister emphasizes and amplifies the importance of getting this particular process right and ensuring that federations account properly around the funding public funds that we disburse to them, Chair. So there was a delay, and my plea was, since I started, Chair, is that let's work hard to try and negate that year that we've lost now. That's the only thing we can do now, Chair, is try to support, work as a team, and try and get the processes underway as quickly as possible. But we acknowledge, Chair, there must have been an impact, and it will not happen going forward, obviously.
Are you happy to share with the committee the monitoring framework?
We can, Chair.
Spending.
Yeah, we can. We've got staff that's been allocated federations, so they then deal with those particular federations in terms of monitoring those things, Chair. Let me just go to some of the questions from Honorable Potgieter, Chair. The issue around institutional capacity and
schedule
governance.
for compliant and decompliant.
Yes. Like now again, Chair, that we can provide, obviously, and the list we can provide of federations. We couldn't put it in the presentation because of the voluminous nature of that particular work. Then let me go quickly to Honorable Daniels, Chair, and I'll ask my colleagues with your permission to come through, Chair. Chair, I must just emphasize one thing quickly. Remember, the funding that we give is in support of the work of federations. Now, there will never ever be enough funding to support every single federations to the extent that they would want us to support them. Hence our intervention around the sport fund. And let me just also quickly speak to that thing. I think Honorable Mtetwa that raised that particular issue in terms of the sport fund. The idea is, and we're working on the modalities, Honorable Mtetwa, the idea is to have an independent fund, independent of government. Where corporates can contribute, federations that are cash flush can contribute into that particular fund. It will be managed external from government and from federations to ensure that we then plug the gap around the financial shortfalls, specifically around the issue of sport in the rural areas and also in the provinces, Chair. Chair, you will see our focus in terms of funding is confined to those areas that are deprived, where people cannot, fend for themselves in relation to participation at international level, etc., etc. But Chair, I can just indicate to you the number of applications we get by far exceed the resources that we have available, and hence our intervention around this particular sport fund. That should help us in a very big way, Chair, in relation to plugging the gap around the financial shortcomings. I just thought I'd raise that as a point, Chair. Yes, Chair, indeed, we're working closely with SASCOC around the support that we provide athletes, technical and other support. But again, Chair, if you don't resource that particular plans as well, you are going to fall short. But we are working very closely with institutions of higher learning, the high performance centers, etc., to try and ensure that we do get that support at that particular level. Just in terms of Honorable Mtetwa, centralized funding model, I think I spoke to that, Chair, which is the issue of the sport fund that we would want to put in place. I think DG will also speak to the sport house, Chair, which has now it's now moved to a point where we are saying that even arts and culture formations do not have these facilities, and how do we incorporate all of this in what we would call a DSEC house? But that planning is still at its infancy, Chair. We've just done the specifications. The issue of where it's going to be located, etc., Chair, will be considered going forward. We obviously have a lot of the federations in and around Johannesburg and Gauteng, but the idea is to have a head office and then have decentralized offices within the provinces, so that the footprint of a particular federation is not confined to a national office. So we're looking at that thing, but we'll report as we proceed and as we progress with this particular project, Chair. It's one of my key projects that I'm running with that we would want to then report to the portfolio committee.
Let's stay with Honorable Mtetwa, who asked 75 good standing.
Oh, yes.
Contrary to the approval.
Yes. Yes, Chair. Indeed, with the inception of OPEX, we had 75. We currently have 59, Chair. Obviously, we would want to up that dramatically over the next year or two or three. And I want to hasten to say, Chair, Minister has given us a very stringent target for 2028, and we're going to do everything in our power to get to that particular target. But we take a more longer term view as well as DSEC, Chair. We're looking at 2032 and also 2036, which hopefully we will host as a country. So I'm just raising this, Chair, within that context that although there seems to be a reduction in terms of the uptake, we're working at the level of provincial as well as youth support to increase the uptake in Operation Excellence, together with SASCOC, obviously, and the federations, to try and up those numbers. I must also emphasize, Chair, the federations remains the engine room to produce these particular athletes. We support, obviously, as government, but they remain the core members who are responsible for that particular process. Chair, I don't know if there's anything from your side that you could have picked up that you'd want me to respond to.
Let's go to Honorable Mutambi's questions.
Okay, Honorable Mutambi. I think the issue around the 20 million, I think those questions were directed to the DG, Honorable Mutambi, and I don't want to take your instruction away that the DG must respond to that with your permission, Chair. And then the sporthouse, I think I spoke about the sporthouse, Chair. And then obviously the quantum of funding, we had 89 million this financial year, Chair, and we obviously increased the funds based on National Treasury regulations and provisos around the growth of what we can grow with on an annual basis. I think the other two, I think maybe the DG will just come in, because I think those questions, Honorable Mtami, directed directly towards the DG. Maybe DG can come in now, or do you want us to conclude and DG come in last, Chair?
Dr. Kumalu can come in. There's still some outstanding questions from members.
Yes.
Thanks, Vincent. We continue with the responses. I said I'll come in at the end with all the other responses. Can we ask that Simpiwe then speaks to the other specifics that you had not covered, including some of the questions that came from Honorable Moletsane and also other honorable members? I am going to address those questions that were addressed to me at the end. So can we continue, please?
Yes. Chair, with your permission, can I hand over to my colleague, the Chief Director, Mr. Simpiwe? Thank you, Chair. Simpiwe Mngcobo, can you please take some of the responses? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Chairperson and the members of the committee and the leadership of the federations on the platform. Chair, with your permission, may I then switch off my camera? Chair, firstly, let me start off with there were a few areas that were highlighted by the representatives of the federation, which will just require direct response. The request in terms of who from this modern pentathlon, who should be contacted, either at SASCOC or the department. The department works very, very closely with SASCOC in terms of membership. So whatever the SASCOC, if something is channeled through SASCOC, it will certainly reach us. But we also note that from our side, there are recognition of sport and recreation bodies, regulations, requirements that also needs to be met. But that information we would follow up and provide to Modern Pentathlon after this meeting. There's a recommendation which we have also noted, the fact that we've had a 3-year cycle of funding. We have noted that recommendation from tennis, and generally, Chair, yes, we do acknowledge that there might have been a delay in terms of provision of funding, particularly this financial year. But we would note that with the introduction of the 3-year cycle, we were then able to move from late transfer to early transfers. So you would note that in the 24-25 cycle, by the first quarter, we had actually transferred to a significant number of sport and recreation bodies. And we believe that we've got a formula that can assist and continue to assist us to transfer as early as possible. We certainly don't want to be doing any transfers in the last quarter of the financial year, because it limits our ability to then monitor the implementation. So that's why we would like to move towards ensuring that we transfer in the first financial year. Sorry, in the first quarter of the financial year. Chair, I do note that there were questions around the reduction in funding. If we look factually and historically, with the reforms over the past few years, actually a significant number of federations have shown some marginal growth in terms of what it gets allocated to them. And so I'm not gonna, I can use just simple examples based on the federations that did highlight this. For instance, table tennis used to receive about 2 million rands. Now the table tennis receive in this current financial year 3.1 million. Softball used to receive with all the category A federations used to receive 2 million rands, and now receive 3 million and 50,000 rands. So the wide range of federations have been affected positively by these reforms in terms of marginal growth in their allocations. Yes, the budget remains constrained, which makes it difficult for us to then allocate a lot. If we were to take a 90, I'm sure I sound like a broken record. If we are to take 98 million rands divided by 62, it will give you 1 million rands per federation. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. Just to then
It not gives you the amount of VAR, maybe. Proceed, Sikwe.
Thank you, Chair. The DDG has addressed the issues of accounting for the previous financial years. Indeed, if the funds for the previous financial years have not been accounted for, we do not transfer. And that's probably the reason why sometimes we do get delays in terms of transferring to specific federations. Just maybe a correction on the allocation to score. We have not reallocated any funding from Live to score. What is being allocated to score would be their baseline allocation from the previous years. So there isn't any allocation to score as such. We do note the challenges that were experienced late last year with the chess team. Chair, you would recall that chess has been in administrative difficulties for years, having then come back for the first time after a long time to receive funding. So this will be the first time they receive funding after a very long time. We suspect that perhaps that's the reason why some of the challenges were experienced last year. Generally, Chair, they were so on the. I think DG has addressed the issues relating to defunding. That in reality there isn't any defunding as such, and The impact of catering for the difference of the federations that are in the departmental books and the federations that are in SASCOC books. Effectively, it would mean that if all the 75 federations that are in SASCOC books were to receive the funds, the cake will just have to be shared because we're not going to get an increase in the budget. So that really would be the direct impact that will certainly reduce the amount that is allocated to the rest of the federations, so that all the federations can get some allocation. The I'm just noting, Chair. Chair.
Proceed.
Can I come in
Yes,
if you
I'm just noting if I've missed anything. Chair, I hope I have not missed anything. Just to note,
Yeah.
Chair, there was a question of the 55 versus 57. Perhaps us including the 55 confused the presentation a bit. The 55 should have been our internal number, which is the minimum target that we desire to transfer to, but it is just a minimum target. So that we can push as much as that number, but anything above is obviously commendable, which certainly in this case we have gone way above the minimum 55 that we had set for ourselves. Chair, I think that's the last question I needed to the last one is on the fact that the funding is not guaranteed. Yes, with the cycle that is closing, the funding technically has been guaranteed for the 3 years. There is a new cycle. There will be a new approach, which we would then in due time convey and communicate to the federations. Thank you very much. I hope I have not missed anything.
That's good. That's good news. Before Dr. Kumalo is going to proceed, the CFO, is he present in this meeting? I would like to have a response on him because there were some questions directed to him as well. And perhaps him or yourself, Dr. Kumalo, can perhaps make a commitment or speak out on the issue on squash South Africa from, I think it's Jenny, on the chat group. Is the CFO in the meeting?
Yes, I mean the Chair, and good day to you and honorable members. Chair, just to guarantee in terms of the allocation, that Treasury did give direction to say the funding for federation must stay. So, like colleagues already said, that funding is available 100% for federation this current financial year. And in the next financial year, we did agree, of course, with Treasury in the middle ground that indeed let's do this in the sort of a long-term plan in terms of bringing in federation in terms of sustainability. I think those were two questions that were raised for the CFO, Chair. If there's any,
there were two direct questions also to you, CFO, pertaining to whether the minister was advised after the engagement with Treasury by Honorable Mutambi, and also what criteria was used on the developing the reform.
Sorry, Chair, through you, Chair, also the deficiencies that were identified by Treasury for him to refuse the deviation.
Thank you. Mr. Mugwama.
Okay, no, thanks, Chair. On the issue of course, indeed, in terms of what Treasury said to us, the letter with Treasury, the discussion did take place with the minister. And also, like I said, then it was then agreed that if we have to implement such a strategy moving forward, it must be taken in the form of what Treasury also said, that they do agree that it's unsustainable for reliance on the departmental funding. But the issue of private funding must be done in the way does not compromise, of course, the planning of federation in the certain financial year and in the long run. And that is how moving forward we do that, Chair.
Yeah, CFO, remember our first meeting as well. We asked a copy from the treasurer where this approval was denied. I haven't seen that copy unless I've made a mistake from my side. Can you commit yourself to send that copy again, and also alongside the questions around surety on funds, can you also, as the CFO, make that commitment to the federations?
No, surety in terms of the allocation for next 10 coming 3 years, Chair, it is guaranteed because it's part of the MTF budget. And then the letter was shared in the meeting during that discussion, Chair, but I can resubmit the letter again. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Kumalo?
No, thank you, Chair. I would like just to start off where the CFO ended, Chair, if you allow me. And yes, indeed, that letter was sent. You had asked for it at the meeting, and he confirmed that he has just sent it. But I just want to refer to and also perhaps in response to the questions, the specific questions coming from the honorable members. What Treasury says here, they say Treasury is of the view that reducing funding to the federations in year after approving business plans for the use of these funds will have too great an effect on federations' abilities to implement operational plans and on sport development at grassroots level. Sport federations do need to be self-sustainable where possible. That's what Treasury says. The plan to reduce the reliance on the operational transfer should be phased in over a 3-year period so that business plans can be aligned to the reduced allocation. This will avoid a situation where planned and approved activities to which funds have been committed will need to be cancelled. So that's basically the response that came through from just capturing the paragraph where they were explaining. CFO has already indicated that the MTEF, for the next MTEF, there is a guarantee, Chairperson, but we still intend, obviously in consultation, to then look at how we phase in what Treasury is talking about. We acknowledge, Chairperson, and I think also DDG Campbell did say that, we acknowledge the fact that some of the initiatives that we actually initiated had a negative impact on the functioning and the operations of the federations. Hence, we need to find ways of better communicating and better coordination of any attempts of enhancements. Honorable Mutambi also asked a question that was directed at me. Beside the issue of National Treasury's rejection, she also asked a question around the financial management. I know CFO has touched on it, but I just wanted to add, Chairperson, that indeed we do have meetings with the minister. There are also advices that are done in writing to the minister through submissions in, relatively standard approach that is used in any other department in dealing with the executive authority. However, we have also in agreement with the CFO committed to have, in addition, FinCom or budget committee meetings where we then sit and we do an analysis at increased frequencies with the minister to be able to deal with some of the problems that could emerge later. So those are the things that we continue to look at. Chairperson, I also wanted just to add, again, DDG Campbell touched on this because I was saying, I just want to clarify for Tabang, who specifically asked a question for clarity. So even though DDG Campbell has indicated initially, the idea started off as a sport house, and this was spoken to by the minister at a meeting that he had in April 2025 with the federations, and there was very good attendance. They I do believe quite a whole lot of federations were present, and it was muted there by the minister himself. Subsequently, after engagements with the arts and culture industry or the cultural and creative industry going up to August 2025, a decision was then made that this not be a sport house that is solely looking at sport federations, but also incorporates the sector clusters. Hence, the reference that DDG Campbell is making to a DSEC house instead of looking at this as a sport house. We then subsequently had, through also the assistance of our finance team, the TORs being developed, which were then taken to the specs, to the bid spec committee. The bid spec committee raised some issues, and there had to be some amendments that are actually done on the specs. So we can share that, Chairperson, as has been requested. We can share the terms of reference for the DSEC house. The intention at this point is to have this located in Gauteng, just in response to what Honorable Mthethwa is saying. And I think DDG Campbell has indicated that on a longer or mid to longer term, we are intending to have the provincial chapters. I think basically, Chairperson, also there was an issue that was raised by Mafata from Swimming SA, which we have acknowledged that there is a need for us to enhance our communication and coordination approaches. But he has asked a specific question to say, how does the department aim to mitigate the loss of the whole year, especially in view of the 350 project, 350, etc. I think it's more working together, Chairperson. I don't think we should apportion the responsibility of mitigating the loss just to the department. And that is what we continue to request that we do. Yes, we will address our own issues. We have actually also looked at those areas where we faltered in our approach. But what becomes important is to set up that cycle. I think there was a member that spoke to Anthony spoke to the issue of looking at the cycle. And with the MTEF, giving us a certain guarantee, I think we can look at signing long-term agreements as was actually done in the past. Unfortunately, Chair, this was a necessary exercise. It was a necessary evil, if I can call it that. But I think it has helped us to then be able to streamline ways and means to enhance our own M&E processes, but also to find a better way of coordinating efforts of intervention. Chairperson, can I just stop there? I'm not sure whether there are areas that we didn't specifically address.
Dr. Kumalo, I want you to address a very serious issue on behalf of the committee, their concern. That's the issue. I'm going to give Saskok after yourself an opportunity. Then I'm going to give Honorable Potgieter, Honorable Malatsani an opportunity. They also may raise issues that they feel has not been responded to, and other members as well. Up until 1:45, then I will give over to the department again to respond. But the issues that I want you noted, Honorable Mthethwa, the issues I want you to respond to is the very serious two issues pertaining to boxing South Africa and athletics South Africa. We are all aware about the whistleblowers. The committee on various occasions wanted to find out as to whether the department or SASCOC has met with these whistleblowers. What was the veracity of that particular case, and how have they dealt with a particular case? Same vis-a-vis the issue surrounding athletics South Africa that is so close to Molatani's heart. And then if you can respond to that, TG, then I will also ask you to respond to the comment and perhaps engage some engagement with Jennifer of Squash, South Africa. I see there's a serious plight from her side. If you can respond to that, I will then also, after yourself, given an opportunity to SASCOC to speak to the serious issue of ASA, which we feel as South Africans, there's a need to revisit that case. There's a need to put in a motion to the appeal committee or to which disciplinary committee to give everyone an opportunity to go and say, listen, we cannot say that the system was flawed and something went wrong, and for that the matter has been postponed. We need some answers in those particular areas. Thank you, DG.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I just start with Jenny? I think Jenny has indicated that she would like to know who to contact. What we can commit here, Chairperson, is we will liaise with Jenny directly to give her the specific people that deal with the issues of funding in the department. Chair, can I just address the issue of Boxing SA? And I think Barry will possibly come in with the Athletics SA because in terms of how the SASCOC responsibilities are structured, they are the ones that we're dealing directly with Athletics SA. And I think he will be in a better position to respond to that. Boxing SA matters, Chairperson, that were related to investigations that needed to be done. That was actually done with the assistance of the department, where the department assisted with making available the database of investigators, and they followed the processes. Around November, December, I don't have the date handily available. They indicated to the department that they had concluded the investigations and they wanted to come and table the report and the recommendations to the minister. They have subsequently also shared the investigation report, and we have, in good authority, gotten feedback from the CEO that they are in the process of implementing the recommendations, Chair. We can be able to share both the report and the status of implementation in as far as that. However, Chair, can I also just say, I did also note the issue of Boxing SA and how the department deals with the issue of Boxing SA versus the federations, etc. However, honorable members should recall that the status of Boxing SA obviously differs in terms of the founding legislation, but in terms of the fact that they are a state-owned entity. And the dictates that talk to sport federations differ when it comes to the issues related to state-owned entities. So we have enhanced also the way that we deal with the reporting by the board, not only with Boxing SA, but also in terms of the reporting by the accounting authorities or accounting officers within not just Boxing SA, but also within all the other entities. Chairperson, just lastly, it might also be of interest to the portfolio committee that in view of the main issues that were coming up related to the entities, inclusive of Boxing SA, the department 4 months ago or 5 then set up a crack team, and that crack team has gone through the processes of looking in detail to all the issues, investigations, audit findings, etc. And it would be an interesting report, I suppose, Chairperson, for a portfolio committee once that team has finalized its work, which is projected for before the end of March. I just wanted to talk to that. Barry, can I ask through you, Chair, to come in on the Athletics SA issues?
Yeah, the president of SASCOC, Mr. Barry Hendricks.
Currently on a bus traveling from Cortina to Venice, so I'm going to switch off my video. There are quite a few questions that I want to tackle. And the one important thing is I want to greet you, the board, the members of the honorable members of the portfolio committee, the department's officials, staff, as well as the SASCOC board members and staff that are part of this meeting. This is quite an important session for us because, as you know, it has caused quite a bit of hardship for us as the sport fraternity. The one thing that SASCOC really needs from the partnership, which we truly appreciate between the Minister and the Department and the Portfolio Committee, is consistency and constant consultation as per the Sports and Recreation Act, the National Development Plan, as well as the Sports and Recreation Act. Because I think there was a serious breakdown in trust and communication in the last year, and I think we need to rebuild that trust as we move forward. The issue of BSA that hasn't crossed my desk yet, Chairperson, so and I'm interested to find out what that's all about. Our member is, of course, NABO, the amateur body. But when it comes to Athletics South Africa, we were not happy as a board with the statement that was put out by ASA, because, part of the report had actually identified 3 people that needed to be put through a process within the Athletics South Africa environment. And that was the finance minister, the finance manager, as well as the acting CEO, as well as the president. We through their initial statement, we determined that technical fault of theirs where the acting CEO signed the disciplinary process was faulty. We agreed with that, and we now asked them to write us a complete report by the end of February. So that is the current status. We wait until the end of February. And if we are unhappy as SASCOC, we have told them in our letter that we will then apply our constitution to take action against ASA if the need arises. There are quite a few questions that were raised by the Portfolio Committee. And the one of rich people going to the Olympics and Paralympics, that is simply not true. Our athletes don't pay a cent, as we have the 5 athletes now at the Winter Olympics. They don't pay a cent at the Olympics. But what we do know is that in the build-up to the Olympics, that the federation's funding is critical from governments. If you look at what England receives, £249 million over 4 years, we have still a long way to go to try and get to that position of other NOCs and Paralympic committees. So we have Operation Excellence. We have people on board, 59 athletes. But just to make a point about Operation Excellence as well, so we separated from this other entity that is now surfacing. 59 athletes on the Operation Excellence funded by Bidvest. But we also fund, not only the athletes, we also fund for the swimming and athletics relays preparation for their World Cups, as well as the rowing boats for Rowing South Africa, because that's an expensive item, and that's all part of our Operation Excellence. Project 350 is still needs a lot of consultative work. If we're going to really garner the support of the high performance centers, the federations, and SASCOC. SASCOC is, of course, by the Sports and Recreation Act, mandated to deliver the high performance program. And therefore, Project 350 is an intrinsic part, and SASCOC needs to be an intrinsic component in leading that particular project, not just sitting by the sidelines to see how the project is being implemented. And we call on this constant engagement by the departments. The one thing that our federations have always complained about is when the funding is received. It's always difficult to receive funding in the third quarter when you have programs to run and then have it completed by the last quarter, because that puts our federations under immense pressure and strain. Now, the 3-year contract was supposed to, and policy was supposed to alleviate this, where we know that federations are going to receive their funding so that they can work in a more professional and structured environment. And we want that to come back very clearly. In the build-up to the Olympics in 2028 and our build-up to 2036 with the Olympics in 2040, I wanted to note that in December, we are on schedule to grow sport in this country. 99 medals we picked up in Angola by the Anoka Olympic Youth Games. And then we'll be taking a team through to Senegal in Dakar in October as well for the Olympic Youth Games, where all the countries' youth around the world will be competing against ourselves. We look forward to a new form of funding, but just to make a statement and an announcement, SASCOC will be announcing what we're going to be calling the Olympic and Paralympic Foundation at the end of April. We already have someone working on it that worked for the Nelson Mandela Foundation before, and this will be our independent fundraising source to support our athletes and to support our federations. So we will be working on that. And then, of course, I will call on the department not to create with us to create a system so that we don't compete against each other with regards to this independent entity. And I look forward to voting on that. I'm a bit disappointed in the statements that our NFs are lazy and that our volunteers don't play a good role. I know for a fact that the majority of people in South Africa are volunteers, and we respect and appreciate them. And that is why the Department of Sport has got a Volunteer of the Year award, and most of the provinces as well. So I respect the work that they've done, knowing that I came from that environment as well. The last thing, I call upon a structured pathway for our athletes in the build-up for Project 350, our high performance, as well as our funding models, so that if we target 2028, LA 2028, and Brisbane 2032, we have a more structured and professional and trusting environment in which we can work and in which we can spend our money. And I look forward to the engagements and reporting in a transparent and accountable manner to the department as well as the portfolio committee. Of course, we know that our SA economy is picking up slowly but surely, and I'm hoping that is going to also be part of the fact that funding will slowly but surely increase as we build a trust with our federations. Thank you so much, Chairperson, for the opportunity to speak.
ASA President of SASCOC, the issue of
yes,
ASA.
I spoke about that at the very beginning of my statement, Chairperson. The board was unhappy with ASA's statement to the media. We as a board then decided to give them 3 months from last year. So it ends the end of February to give us a detailed report. If we're not happy with that report, we are going to apply our constitution in terms of the various actions that we can take against the organization. And that includes a disciplinary hearing from our own side. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Members, I'm having 9 minutes, 3 each for Honorable Potgieter, Honorable Monatsani, and Honorable Mtetwa. Thereafter, I'm going to give an opportunity to the department to respond, and it's more unlikely that we will be able to proceed with the consideration and adoption of draft committee minutes. I will therefore then rule that we extend and will have the consideration and adoption of the minutes later on. The Honorable Potgieter.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I still think we're glossing over the fact that this money was taken away and reallocated to VAR. I saw the National Treasury letter, and essentially at our meeting previously, we were told that the CFO had the authority to move funds around as he saw fit outside of parliamentary processes. The fact of the matter is, if that money had not been rejected by our Treasury, it would not be going with regards to why these sports federations were not funded at the correct time. It wasn't withheld, it was actually completely reallocated. And the only reason it's being paid out now is because VAR is not plausible and Treasury doesn't support the idea. And I think that is very clear. Just with regards to the statements about the ethical communication around Krugersdorp High, we do have ethical communication guidelines in government, and that statement is on an official platform of DSACs, where it is very clear that the launch was done by the Deputy Minister and that there is no mention of Cricket South Africa whatsoever. There is thus not a very clear line between whether or not the funding was given by the department or whether or not it was provided by DSAC. So I do think that the department needs to look at its communication guidelines and clarify that quite importantly, because we are dealing with this precise issue where federations have been defunded. And just with regards to the issue on, I don't think it was explained sufficiently, but with regards to SCORE, the CFO stated that they would get a baseline allocation from last year, but last year they were not given any allocation. The allocation was given to Love Life. My question was, why was there a sudden change from Love Life to SCORE? And on what basis? Because earlier in the presentation, the DDG stated that SCORE was one of those that were non-compliant. So that question has not been answered, but if we can get possibly in writing the reason as to why they are no longer funding Love Life and why SCORE has been given the allocation and what exact baseline allocation is being given to them, particularly because they were found to be non-compliant.
Thank you, Honorable Potgieter. The Honorable Molatani.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think the president of SASCOC, according to me, he did not say anything regarding the issue of Athletics South Africa. Let me make a reference. There was a case of members of Athletics South Africa that said in December, and in that case, according to the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing, he said that the acting CEO of Athletics South Africa did not have the right to suspend those members because the way he was appointed was illegal. Secondly, Chairperson, on the report of the investigation that was done on the misuse of funds on Athletics South Africa, the report says that yes, the president did misuse the funds, and at the end, he was going to pay the funds and be reinstated. The same thing happened to Mr. Makokotel, who misused the funds of Lotto on the same Athletics South Africa, and he was reinstated. So if SASCOC wants to put this matter to end, why can't SASCOC put Athletics South Africa under administration? Secondly, Chairperson, on the issue of Boxing South Africa, the department must tell us they gave Boxing South Africa 20 million. As it is, can the department finish us as the portfolio committee with the report of how that 20 million was used? Because till today, Chairperson, there is nothing that is happening in Boxing South Africa. I'm still standing on the words that I've said before. We are here to finance the officials of Boxing South Africa lifestyle, with something that we cannot stand off. Can the department give us the report that show us how did the 20 million was spent by Boxing South Africa? How can they give Boxing South Africa the money, whereas there is nothing happens, but with other entities they manage to cut the funds? Chairperson, departments must take us serious. Thank you very much.
Honorable Daniel, it was a serious oversight that you did not raise your hand, but I am still going to give you a chance. Before I'm going to give you a chance, the issue that Honorable Molatani has now raised has also give rise to another question from my side on behalf of the committee. Did SAFA pay back the 5 million rand? Because they are now, should I say, stinking rich. Did they pay back the 5 million rand, the loan that has been given to them for salary? The Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me just lower my hand before I get called out. Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, DSAC states that there will not be enough funds for federation. It's only to support the federations. The DG also says that Treasury speaks about this particular thing around funding federations. And I want to just say that I want to encourage the federations to keep on sourcing funding, because Treasury is saying the same thing. Department of Sports is saying the same thing. And I find that those federations jump on the bandwagon of wanting to blame DSAC, as was the case earlier on, for not having received funding on time, and therefore they're still struggling. Like it or not, Treasury cracks the whip, and that is what they say. So you will have to, unfortunately, go out and source more funding. and just do with what you can get at this point in time. So let me move on, Chairperson. I'm very happy to hear the president of SASCOC speaking about end of April. They're putting their plans together around Project 350. That's very encouraging to hear. Thank you very much. Because I just want to say that, you know, you reach your prime age for as an Olympian at the age of 18 and slightly beyond. So the work has to start now. And if you want to be ready for 2032, you have to be 12 years old now to be 18 come 2032, at least 12 years. So I'm looking forward to them reporting to us on that progress that they have made pertaining to the end of April thingy, because you have to start now with the youngsters, 12-year-olds, those who are just exiting primary school. So this takes us to grassroots levels then where we have to start, which is very encouraging, and I trust that we'll get enough funding for this grassroots development. Lastly, Chairperson, I want to disagree with the president of SASCOC, who says that it's not true that if you can't pay, you can't play because you don't pay a cent to go to the Olympics. Only the latter part of it is true, that you don't pay a cent when you go to the Olympics. But what the president is missing here, deliberately so or not, is that how do you get put onto the radar to be identified as a prospective Olympian? Is it not by being partisan in the various sports continents? Is it not that you must partake in your regional competitions, in your provincial competitions where you get identified to represent your country? Because not everybody representing the country makes it to the Olympics. So those who don't play regional competitions and provincial competitions is because they must pay to play. Now they sit at home. And that is where the crux of the matter really is. So the president of SASCOC is completely wrong. You have to make sure that people don't pay to play. Because if you're saying you go to the Olympics without having to pay a cent, which is true, what gets you to that level where you qualify as an Olympian and you don't have to pay a cent? It is because you could pay to play to get to that stage. My concern is those who cannot afford to pay to play. So let us not be misleading by only citing that you don't pay to go to the Olympics. But what we have to say is you must pay to play to be recognized to become an Olympian. And that is the missing middle that we need to talk about, Chairperson. So it is true indeed that you must pay to play. I thank you.
Thank you. The President of SASCOC, Mr. Dan Hendricks. Please unmute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Look, I totally agree with Honorable Mullen. That's and I did make the statement previously that it's one thing to say that we take the athletes to the Olympics and they don't pay a cent. But that is why we need federations to receive this government funding so that the environment can be created right at school level and club level, so that it can be made more accessible economically for the households and the parents to afford having the kids play football in rural areas, especially in township areas, because those are the environments I come from. And I know how difficult it is to access sport. With regards to ASA, I also stated that, yes, we did not agree with the statement. And that is why we're taking ASA to task, because we want them to give us a complete report and we'll take action on thereafter. Thanks, Chairperson.
The DDG, it is love that makes the world go round. Love life.
Chairperson, if you don't mind, can I just come first in terms of some of the questions that were directed to the department, and the DDG can add. I just want to thanks, Chair. With regard to Treasury not supporting VAR, Honourable Member Potgieter, it's not true, because otherwise the Treasury would not have written to the department to clearly say they are approving the movement or the environment of the funds for Big Walk to VAR, which is what they approved. What they did not approve, as I had said earlier on, was the environment of funds that were intended to be transferred to sport federations, and I've spoken to that. But Treasury has been very clear, Chair, in their response, where they said they are approving, in terms of Section 6.3.1, the issue of the shift of the 20 million that was intended for the Big Work project to increase the transfer to SAFA for the video assistance referee VAR system. So that was the response. Now, Chairperson, I also want to, talking about SAFA, to also speak to or respond to your question regarding the payback, whether SAFA did pay back the 5 million. That amount, Chairperson, we did not, even in our reports, Chairperson, you would have noted that we did not say that it was a loan. We said it was an advance. And we said, we did explain the fact that that was an allocation for SAFA for the financial year 25-26. And due to an intervention that was done by the department, that amount of money was paid in December 2024 as an advance. As a result, SAFA therefore did not get the allocation for 25-26. So the expectation, Chairperson, in other words, was not for them to pay it back because it was an advance, which meant they would forfeit the payment that what they were supposed to get in 25-26. Honorable Member Potgieter, we will indeed follow up on and give a feedback to yourself through the chairperson on the issue of the Kruger-Stop statement with the detail. Including, you have allowed us to also give you feedback on the issue of love and score issues that you have also raised. DDT Campbell, I don't know whether you want to add to what I said. I just wanted to address some of the questions. DDT Campbell?
Chair, I think, DG, you've covered the questions adequately. There's no additional responses from my side. Thank you, Chair.
To address the love life issue.
Yes, Chair.
I think the CFO addressed it, but if they can just put some more clarity for members on the love life issue, because there was counter rebuttal.
Yes, so my apologies, Chair. There was a request from Honorable Potgieter that we submit maybe that response in writing, which we will then do, Chair. Thank you.
Chairperson, the issue of boxing, they haven't touched it at all.
Yeah, I've made a note, 20 million.
Oh, apologies, Honorable Member. Yes, the allocation for boxing was actually done. I don't have a figure in front, but it would be around 20 million. But you have also said DSET must give honorable members a report on the utilization of this funding that was transferred. We will indeed do so, Chairperson, provide that report as indicated. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Just to, I don't want to have an unnecessary rebuttal on the 5 million. It is for me is the same thing. It is just a loan is long-term borrowing, and an advance is a short-term borrowing from the side of SAFA. Honorable members, that most probably bring us to the end. I am aware that some members are still in the residential areas where they're residing outside Parliament precinct and still have to come to Parliament for 2 o'clock. I will then rule that we deal with the consideration and adoption of draft of the committee minutes on a next meeting. But what I can safely say, Honorable Mtetwa, it is prepared, it is done. And I want to thank the professional staff as well for their job. Again, I want to say thank you to the federations. I also want to say thank you to the department, and more so thank you to the members in doing their oversight, and sometimes very robust and very critical. And I believe that is the only way that we can take this country forward. Thank you also to each and everyone for their input in today's meeting. We will then adjourn, and I declare this meeting closed, and we will see each other on Friday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Chairperson.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair.